So this week we are having a look at a fantastic flower called Statice, or limonium, you might have heard it called before as well. And it makes a brilliant cut flower. It's so worthwhile growing in your garden this year if you can. And we're going to have a look at it today, through from sowing the seeds, looking after it in the garden, through to harvesting it, and how I use it in my flower arranging. And here is just a few of my top reasons why you should grow Statice this year. First of all, it's really super easy to grow from seed. It is quick to germinate, we'll talk about that in a minute, really easy to bring on. There's not much to it that can go wrong with growing your Statice little seedlings. And then once you've got it out in the garden, it really needs very little care there as well. And although you can see here in the footage that I've got support netting up, it actually is a quite sturdy plant, and you may get away without using this if you're not in a very exposed area. It does have very strong stems on it. Another fantastic reason to grow Statice is not only looks beautiful in your garden, but it's amazing to use in flower arranging, and it stands up so well in a vase. You can get a good week to 2 weeks with your Statice, and it also lasts really well out of water for wedding flowers. And an added bonus is that you can use it as a dried flower as well. Another bonus with Statice is it's a cut and come again variety of flower. So that means once you've cut your first stems for flower arranging, if you've cut it low enough down, you'll get new long stems coming through again for you a few weeks further down the line. So that's really useful as well. So another reason that I love to grow Statice is because of these lovely shades of blue that you can get. And when you're flower arranging, it can be really difficult sometimes to find that true blue colour, and Statice provides that, so it's fantastic if that is your theme you're working with. Also, you can grow other colours as well. You can grow lovely pinks, you can grow pastels where you've got apricots and lemon colour and whites, and you can also get deep purples as well. You can see here some really vivid pinks that I've grown, which are lovely. So colour is fantastic. And another really good reason to grow Statice is it doesn't have to go in your flower beds in your garden. You can grow Statice in pots too, so it's great if you're gardening in a smaller space. So let's go just now and see how to sow some Statice seeds. So here we are, we've got lots of different Statice seeds here from a few different companies. I've used Plants of Distinction, I've used Mole Seeds, I've used Chiltern Seeds, lots of seed companies out there that can provide you with Statice seeds. And this is what they look like. Fairly large seeds, so quite easy to handle when you're sowing them. And starting off, as I usually do with my half seed trays, which I'm placing in a larger seed tray underneath and soaking them from underneath with water. So when I've got nice damp compost, I'm ready to go. So here we are, it's nice damp compost here. And I'm just going to start by sprinkling some of my little Statice seeds out as evenly as I can across my half seed tray. Now they like a bit of warmth to germinate, so about 18 to 24 degrees Celsius. I normally have my heated propagating bench on about 18 to 20 degrees. I also don't start Statice off too early. I start them off in around February time, early March. So these are not seeds that I would sow in the autumn and over winter. I only start them off in the new year, in that February spell and in March. And then as we get through March and we've got lots of seeds on the go, and those first batches are potted on and growing on in cooler conditions in the greenhouse, I'll then start more new batches just so that I have got a good succession through the summer. So this latest batch that you've just seen there with the seed label is the end of April, and that'll be one of the last batches I do this year. So these little seeds need light to germinate, so you don't want to cover them too deeply with your vermiculite or your soil. So what you want to do is just put a very thin sprinkling over the top of your vermiculite or your seed compost if you're using that. Then pop a humidity dome over the top You don't have to do this, but I think it helps to create the right atmosphere for germination quite quickly. And then I place it on my heated propagating bench, and that's set to about 20 degrees Celsius to get the statice to germinate. They'll germinate between about 18 to 24 degrees Celsius. So if you haven't got a heated propagating bench, don't worry, you can pop your statice seeds onto a sunny windowsill, and that should help germination as well. The thing to remember with your statice is as soon as they've germinated, you want to get them off that heat. So these statice little seedlings have germinated from seeds sown just last week, so it takes just a few days for the statice to germinate under the right conditions. So the statice has been on a heated propagating bench with a humidity dome over the top. But as soon as they've germinated, we now need to lift that humidity dome off, and we need to lift the statice seedlings off the heated propagating bench. Get them out into the greenhouse to grow on in good light and in cooler conditions. Another week on, and this is what the statice is looking like in the seed trays. So they are starting to grow and develop a bit more, and they're ready now to be getting transplanted and potted on into the cell trays that we've got in the greenhouse. So these have been growing on for the past week, not under any heat. They've been growing on in an unheated greenhouse with plenty light. So these statice need their own individual space to grow on, so they're not competing for light and nutrients. So cell trays are fantastic for this. You can get about 82 into these cell trays that I've got, and individual pots as well, you can use them too. So we want to get them out like these little seedlings, potted on at plenty light, no heat, and they'll grow away quite happily there. So one of my jobs this week was to be pricking out lots of my statice and getting them into bigger cell trays. So we've got lots and lots of statice on the go here in their different trays. These are going to make fabulous fresh flowers, but also dried flowers later on in the summertime. And just look at how quickly they do come on when they have their own space to grow and the right conditions. These are all looking great. Another week down the line, really starting to develop their true leaves now. Here in Scotland it is still cold. It's the 26th of April and we've had snow this morning. It's going to be -3 degrees tonight, and although statice can cope with a little bit of cold, I want them to be more robust plants before I get them outside. So I want them to be more at this stage before they go out. When they get to this stage here, this is when I'm thinking that they're looking good, sturdy enough seedlings that I can start hardening them off and get them outside. They'll be able to cope with the weather conditions outside, and they'll also be able to cope with slug and snail damage a little bit too, which can often be a problem at this early time of the year when it's often quite wet. So we're going to get them hardened off for about a week outside, gradually exposing them to the outdoors for a couple of hours each day and building it up, and then we will get them planted outside. So it's the second week in May now, and having a look at the 10-day forecast, it looks like there's no frost on the horizon. So I'm feeling fairly confident about planting out some of my more tender annuals, and I'm going to get my statice out there. So I have weeded the beds and I have mulched them with our compost, so they're ready for the statice to go into. And here we have got one of our plug plants, and you can see that it's got some good healthy roots on it, and it's got lots of leaves growing away there as well. And it's been hardened off and it's ready to get into the ground. And I'm using my bamboo skewers again, which I have cut this time to 25 centimeters in length to help me with my spacing. So we can see them here. I've cut my bamboo skewers to 25 centimeters, but you can go up to as much as 30 centimeters spacing for statice. I've already got one statice planted, as you can see on the left. Then my bamboo skewer there just shows 25 centimeters along where I want to make my next hole and put my next statice plant in. So now I know where my hole is going to be. I'm just going to use my trowel here to make a hole for my little plant, and then I'm going to pop it into the hole that I've made, and I'm going to press the soil round about it just to give it a bit of a press in there, and that will be that one ready, and I'll go on and use my skewer to find the next one. As you can see here, you can use it to make spacing between rows as well as the plants down your row. So it's really useful. So the statice before they went into the soil have all been watered, and I think that if you pre-water them before you plant them, then you don't have to water the whole bed and make it wet when you put them in. And I don't know whether it helps or not, but I feel like that might help with the slugs if it's fairly dry round about it, but well watered on the actual plant itself, just until they get established, and then I'll do my usual watering of the beds. But the slugs are so bad this year that I'm trying to think of any way of preventing them from getting to those new seedlings. So it'll take about 5 months for me to get flowers for my statice, from sowing the seeds through to harvesting the first flowers. And in the garden, we've talked about the spacing. In terms of the beds, they are quite unfussy flowers. They are quite happy in most soil types, and as long as it's well draining, that's the main thing. You don't want them sitting in waterlogged soil. I don't feed my statice either. I have just mulch compost on them at the beginning of the season. Statice do like growing in the sunshine, so it's important to find a good sunny spot where they're going to get a good several hours of sunshine in the day. Once you've got the plants established in your garden and they're growing away well, then I find that they're not really affected by any pests or diseases in the garden either, so that makes them really simple to look after. So once you've got them planted out in your garden, they really are a very easy plant to look after, and you'll get some great flowers all through the season from midsummer through to October time. In terms of providing support, I do put up my horizontal netting just for a bit of added security with my statice, but they actually do have really sturdy stems, so you might be able to get away with no support netting at all. It's just I live in quite an exposed area halfway up a hill, and we can get quite big gusts of wind, and just for that security with a lot of my flowers, I do put the pea and bean netting up horizontally. So really it's a choice with the statice. You can choose to put the netting if you want to, but I would say that the stems are sturdy enough that you wouldn't need to do this step. This is a great time for cutting statice, when you can start to see those little white flowers that are in amongst those really bright colourful bracts that you've got there. So you get tiny little flowers coming, then that's a good stage for cutting. So you can harvest right down at the base of the plant, so all the way down, following that stem right down. Here we go, and I'll just make a cut right down there at the base, and that encourages new stems to come through. So statice is cut and come again. You will get future stems coming if you do cut down at the base there, and that gives you a nice long stem for using in arrangements as well. So I don't know if you can see here, but there's already been a large stem cut on this plant, and these are the new stems that are coming up and going to give us more flowers in a few weeks' time. So now you've cut your flowers, how do you condition them? Well, when I'm cutting, I always take a bucket that's nice and clean with some fresh water in it down to the flower patch, and I cut directly into this so the flowers are never out of water. But it's important when you're going to condition them that you do remove these wings that you can see here. You can just see them coming off the stem. So it's the side branchy bits on those nice long stems, and they need removed if they're going to be below the water line. Removing any excess foliage on your stems when you're conditioning them just helps stop bacteria building up, and it'll help promote having the longest vase life for your flowers. When I'm conditioning, I ideally cut the stems in the evening the day before and condition them overnight in a cool, dark place. But if you don't have that time, at least 3 to 4 hours before arranging is ideal. As you can see from the previous footage, I really do like my blue statice. I've got so many different shades of blues, and it's fantastic for using, and a colour that I think is quite in demand sometimes from florists as well, wanting to use blues within their flower arrangements. But there's so many different statice colours that you can grow. There's whites, there's purples, there's pinks, and here I wanted to show you this lovely peach one here. You can see it just there on the right hand side beside the asters there. and it's got those lovely little yellow flowers just coming in it in amongst the peach bracts there, and that shows that it's a good time for starting to harvest that now when they appear. So you do get so many different shades, and that makes it a really worthwhile flower to use. And in this florist bucket here, you can see some lovely pink statice beside the purple as well there. So that just shows you that deep pink rose colour that I grew. And this is just showing you now some of the buckets of flowers that I have going out. And these are full of statice at different times. You're probably looking at July, I start to get my statice flowering, and it'll go through August, September, even into October. And because it's cut and come again, you do tend to keep getting new stems coming through. So you don't need to do quite as many succession sowings if it's a cut and come again flower. You can do a couple to make sure you've got enough fresh supply. But it's always good to know that you can rely on more stems coming through on the same plants. So lots getting cut there for the florists, and it's lovely to be able to mix in those lovely deep shades with other flowers in the garden as well. As well as cutting statice for florists and DIY buckets, I do a lot of arranging with it myself as well. And you can see here, this is a jar arrangement that's got some lovely blue statice on the left-hand side there. And that complements those deep burgundy scabious and dahlias and the pink cosmos and those lovely little pink sweet peas and dahlias on the right-hand side too. And there's also some good blue statice in here as well. It goes really nicely with that blue phlox and the white nigella and the white daucus that you've got there. And the buplerium as well, with that lime green, also sits really nicely with the blue statice too. So great combinations of flowers that you can use with statice, and they really do complement each other and show each other off. Here you can probably just see some of that peach statice on the right hand side that I've got interspersed in amongst those apricot cosmos and the feverfew there. This bouquet here has some purple statice interspersed, and that just really offsets nicely those really deep pink dahlias that you've got in there. I think you do need little punctuations of other colours when you're using a dark shade in a bouquet. It's nice to have other darker shades of different colours in amongst them. The best thing about statice is that it just lasts forever in an arrangement. You're never going to worry about it fading too quickly or it wilting. It just stands up really well in water or out of water. Fantastic. And I'm going to show you how I've used it in some wedding flowers in a minute as well, because it's absolutely fantastic for that. But I also do use it on my garden gate stall and my jar arrangements because, again, fantastic, good value for money for your customer because the statice is going to last a long time in the vase. And you can see here I've got some purple and blue statice in these jars. And again, this is August time in the year when we've got the dahlias really well established. And I've got lots of other flowers on the go there too, like my daucus, and I've got cerinthe and cornflowers. And we've got some herbs, marjoram, snapdragons going into these jars as well. So one of my top things to use statice for is wedding work. It's absolutely fantastic, completely reliable because it will not wilt out of water, which makes it fantastic for using in hair pieces, in buttonholes, in corsages. This hair comb here had to be made a few days in advance of a wedding because it was travelling quite a far distance across Scotland to the west coast, and it lasted fantastically well out of water, and the bride was really happy with it. And I used cornflowers, heather and statice for this, and the statice held up really, really well. So fantastic for using in any hair pieces that you have with your brides. It's nothing worse than having that feeling that it might not last. And if it's a hair piece, you want it to look really nice throughout the whole day of the wedding and into the evening. And because you've got so many shades of statice that you can grow them to suit whatever colour theme you're working with. So here we've got some lovely peach statice that I've used in amongst the lovely peach rose and white cornflower here to make this lady's corsage. Here's another example of some ladies' corsages that has some purple and some pink statice in them, and again they just suit the nice pink heathers that you can use, the white heathers. They fit in with the cornflowers, and they just provide something that's really long lasting that you're never going to be concerned about on the day, and they're just so pretty as well. These gents buttonholes here have Eryngium in them, they've got Sweet William, they've got bunny-tail grass and Nigella seed pods, and that lovely deep blue that you've got from the Statice, which works really well with the blue in the Eryngium and the white in the Sweet William. I really do love making buttonholes, so when the flowers get going again this year, I think we'll see if we can make some and film it in the summertime so I can show you some of the things that go really well together. Statice goes so nicely in bridal bouquets, and this was a really colourful bouquet that I made for a bride, really cheerful one, and it had all sorts of shades in it, but the blue from the Statice really worked well in there. It just gave some really nice vivid pops of colour. I also used some pink Statice, which you can see tucked in the back there on the left hand side. Favourite colour combinations of mine are whites and purples and blues and subtle pinks, and this bouquet here was a whole mixture of my favourite flowers and my favourite colours, and it just had nice dark blue Statice interspersed with it, just as nice little pops of colour that complemented the other shades in the bouquet. So Statice works equally well as a dried flower as it does fresh, and these are 6-month-old bunches that I have in the house, and these were cut fresh from the garden and hung up to dry upside down in a place out of direct sun, well ventilated so that there's enough air going around circulating, and they'll gradually dry for you and they will look like this, retaining their colour. As long as you've kept them out of the sun, they'll retain their colour really well and make fantastic dried flowers, and you can put them together with other dried flowers, or you can put them together just as a bunch like I have here of different colour Statice together. But it just shows you how well it does dry and that it does retain colour after a period of time. So now that we've had a look at growing Statice from seed and planting it in the garden and how to use it in flower arrangements, let's have a quick summary of what we've talked about today. So the first thing to say is that you might have come across Statice being called limonium, and that is the same plant, so you might see it as either of those names. It's a half-hardy annual, which means that it's not going to overwinter for us here in this country, so always start growing it from seed in late winter or early spring. So for me, I start it off around about late February time, and then I'll do a few batches, so I'll sow some in March, some in April, and I might do a last batch in May. They do need some light and warmth to germinate, but they're very fast to germinate if they've got the right conditions, so you can get them germinating within a week. And you just want to put a thin covering of vermiculite or compost over them when you're sowing the seeds, just so that you make sure that light is able to get to the seeds. When they are big enough to handle, so that's normally when you're starting to get those true leaves coming through, you can pop them on into bigger pots, and they like to grow on in cool conditions. So as soon as I've got them germinated, I get them off that heated propagating bench and into an unheated greenhouse, and you can start hardening them off fairly quickly outside as well. And the reason that you're doing that is because you'll get more productive a plant with more flowers if you grow on in a cool period of time. They like to be about 10 degrees Celsius for a few weeks when they are young plants. You want to plant them out in the garden once the danger of frost has passed. Now, I normally plant them about 25 centimetres apart, but you can go up to about 30 centimetres apart, so up to about 12 inches. If you think that there's a likelihood of still some frost going to be around, but it's getting really late in the season, you can always go and put some frost cloth over them at night time just to keep the frost away from them. Don't need to pinch them out. They like full sun, so find a sunny spot in your garden or flower farm. They're not too fussy with the soil. As long as it's good drainage and you're not sitting in waterlogged soil, they should do well for you. I find that they've got really sturdy stems, so you won't necessarily need to use horizontal netting, but I'm quite exposed where we are as well, and we can get some really good gusts of wind. So I do put in support with horizontal netting with all my flowers, and that includes Statice as well. They are cut and come again, which is fantastic. That means when you cut those first flowers, as long as you cut them down at the base of the plant, you'll get new long stems coming through, which is great. You want to harvest them though when they are getting to be fully out. So you've got lots of colour opened up and you've got those tiny white flowers that you can see here in the picture. When you're conditioning them, you'll see the green wings that come off the stem, and you want to remove them and then just condition them in fresh water for a few hours or ideally overnight, and then use them in your arrangements, and they'll last a good 8 to 10 days. And also they are absolutely fantastic dried as well, so you can cut them when the flowers are fully out, you can hang them up to dry in a cool area away from direct sunlight, and then they will dry over a few weeks for you, and you'll be able to use them throughout the winter months as a dried flower. So overall, Statice is such a super easy flower to grow from seed, and it just keeps giving all summer long and into the autumn.